Shabbat Shalom and welcome everyone, those who are visiting for the first time, those who are back in our sanctuary for the first time in a long time, those who have been with us regularly. Welcome to everybody. I want to share with you a reflection about a woman who lives in the north of Israel. She recently turned 100. And she is a veteran educator, particularly an educator of young children. She was the person whom the others on kibbutz back in the 1930s turned to in order to set the stage for how children, especially young children, should be educated. And what she did was she created a yard that consisted of what we might call junk, tractors that had been discarded. Nowadays, the yard contains old computers. It contains plants and flowers that just happen to be growing wherever they are, a whole bunch of castaway objects. She hasn't given an interview in a few years, but in 2010, she was interviewed about why it is that she created this type of a yard for 2, 3, and 4-year-olds to play in. And here is what she said. The children have to know that when they work in the yard, unexpected things are going to happen. The question is how you learn to deal with it. The entire lives of these children will be dealing with the unexpected, but without meaning to, we wrap our children in cotton balls. Now, she believed that since life is chaotic, we should educate children in ways that allow them to experience a little bit of the chaos and to figure out how to navigate and to figure out how to take appropriate risks, which are all part and parcel of learning. Training children to deal with life's chaos and to deal with that which is unexpected. We all know that life is chaotic. We know that life throws all sorts of unexpected things at us. The Torah itself is a record of two things which exist in conversation. One, the effort to try to put chaos at bay. God takes tohu vavohu, chaos, and creates order, but the chaos is always there. And Moses' life, which we read a little bit about this morning as we have been reading, reminds him and reminds the children of Israel again and again that life is chaotic and that unexpected things happen. So poor Moses reaches 80 years old, might have imagined at the age of 80 that things would start to calm down. And that's when God first turns to him and says, you need to go to Egypt, you need to speak with the Pharaoh, and you need to basically turn the whole situation upside down with my support and my inspiration. And then he sees, after the children of Israel leave Egypt, that things remain chaotic, that life in the wilderness is not a garden of roses, that there are complaints from within and without, that there is chaos that surrounds Moses, including his own brother and sister, Ava referred to that a little bit earlier, who are criticizing him. And so he's dealing with war, he's dealing with rebellion, he's dealing with criticism, and he understands that life constantly is throwing that which is chaotic and unexpected. I want to turn our attention just for a moment or two to what happened recently in Israel, which is the election of a 36th government. Now, this government, for whose success we pray, contains incredible diversity. I would call it a good kind of chaos, which is going to require its members to work together with people who are different. So what does the diversity include? Several Jews of Ashkenazi background, several of Mizrahi background, several who are mixed, several Arab Muslims, one minister who has multiple sclerosis and who is in a wheelchair, one who is openly gay and lives with his husband in Tel Aviv, one who was born in Ethiopia, right-wing and left-wing and centrist. It actually looks a good deal like a complicated and thriving democracy's government should look. And I say How remarkable that all of these individuals are going to have to learn how to live with each other, how to govern together with people who are different and with people with whom they might have some small and very large disagreements. And then, of course, there's the bad kinds of chaos, which is the conflict that exists within Israel and certainly with her neighbors and coming out of Corona like the rest of the world. I want to say another word about Malka Haas before I offer some concluding thoughts. May she live to be 100 and beyond. She left Berlin in the 1930s. She left her parents. Fortunately, she saw them again by some remarkable confluence of miracles. But her mother handed her a sandwich as she got onto a train, not knowing exactly how her life would take shape. And many of the other individuals on this kibbutz also came from Germany, and they also came to Israel. And many of them, sadly, never saw their families again. They were toughened by life's circumstances, and possibly some of the approaches to educating children that they used, we might not want to use today. But the notion that children should not be coddled, the notion that children should be exposed to appropriate risks that allow them to develop resiliency, that is a notion that I think we need to think about as we educate future generations to live in the world, a world that has all kinds of unexpected twists and turns. Life throws surprises at us. Some are delightful and some are painful. Life is teeming with all kinds of people who are different from us, who have a great deal to teach us if our minds and our hearts are open and we can approach them with basic respect and curiosity. And I would say that life is a lot more rewarding if we learn to appreciate the twists and turns and not to artificially flatten them in order to make things easier. One final thing about Malka Haas. She let the children in her charge play barefoot in this yard that she created. And she was asked, how can you let children play barefoot? And here is what she said. A barefoot child learns faster to take care of herself because the feelings she gets through her feet sharpen her understanding. So I want us to think about that, not just literally, but metaphorically. If we can actually learn to experience the world by experiencing it directly and unadorned and unfiltered from an early age, I encourage us to teach one another, not just younger people, but people as they age in a way, literally and metaphorically, that represents the real yard that the world actually is. And I hope that we will continue to be guided by the examples of people like Moses in his generation and Malka Haas in her generation, preparing ourselves for the world as it is and the world which through our efforts might actually be. Shabbat Shalom.